Hello again and welcome to our second flip learning session on research methods in social psychology. In this session we're going to look at populations, samples, ethical issues in social psychological research. As with the last one, if you look at the booklet you'll find the corresponding activities which you can do, and obviously you can rewind this and pause it and go back to it at a later time. In this video we're going to look at selecting a sample from a wider population. We're going to look at ethical considerations with using human participants in your research, and we're going to be looking at how we can write out. When looking at populations and samples, a population is a collection of people who we want to investigate and make some inferences about. And from that population we may choose a sample, and that's a subset of people from that population. We need to make sure that our samples are representative of all the individuals in the population we are sampling, otherwise a sampling bias may occur. There are many different ways to get a sample of our population, and one of these is by random sampling, and this is where we get a list of all the individuals in our population, and we may pick names at random from a hat or by using a computer program. Some problems with this is that you may not always get a sample which is representative of the population because it is due to random selection. Also, you may have a sampling bias issue because even though we've picked people at random, some of those people may not choose to consent, and therefore that means the sample won't be representative of the population. Another type of method which will give us a sample representative of the general population is a stratified sample, and this involves looking at the makeup of the whole population in terms of, say for instance, the number of men to the number of women. So if we know that it's 40% men, 60% women, we can then take a sample of 10, and we know that there will be 4 men to 6 women. Another two methods of sampling are opportunity sampling and volunteer sampling. Both of these methods are far easier to use, but the problem is they may give you samples which aren't representative of the general population. Opportunity sampling is about positioning yourself somewhere where there's going to be people, and then asking those people who first cross your path to take part in your study. So for instance we could think of perhaps a market researcher out in a town centre and asking the first people they come across to fill in the questionnaire. In a volunteer sample we advertise for people to take part in our research, and we do this by using newspaper ads or putting notices on, say, places where people are going to go, such as the common room, and then we see who comes along. A problem with this is that the people you are likely to get may be specific types of people who would normally go to try to take part in psychological research, and that can lead to sample bias. Now we've looked at sampling methods, I would like to go on to consider ethics when using human participants. Now the BPS ethical code states that we need to keep everything we have confidential and make sure that all of our results and anything else like that, questionnaires, are all anonymised. We need to ensure that the participant knows that they have the right to withdraw at any time before, during or after the study. We should ensure that they have informed consent, that is, they've got full awareness of what the study's aims are, what the nature of participation is going to be, and whether there's going to be any information withheld. Sometimes informed consent is not possible due to the nature of the study because it could give them too much information. So that's a judgment call we have to make. We can deal with the issues of consent by giving a full debrief at the end of the study and asking whether participants would like to withdraw. In terms of protection, we need to ensure that there is no physical or psychological harm that the participants could suffer, and that they're going to come into the study and leave in the same way as they came in. In terms of privacy, we need to respect participants' rights not to disclose personal or private information. So when asking questions, we need to be aware of the questions we ask, that they're not too probing. We also need to ensure that we don't deceive participants and make sure that we tell participants the truth. And sometimes just withholding information is enough to be considered deception. Finally, we need to give participants a debrief, and that is to tell them about the nature of the study and what they participated in, and then give the opportunity to withdraw, and that's all done at the end of the study. Having examined the ethical issues, we can now look at how to create the consent form and debrief form. The consent form is given to the participants at the start of the study. It tells them what we are investigating, what they are going to be asked to do, and it will basically give them the opportunity to agree to participate in the research. They will sign and date this form and then give it back to you. It will also tell them that they are able to withdraw at any time. The debrief is given to the participants at the end of the study. It basically tells them what the investigation aimed to find out. It gives them some information on what they were asked to do and how that ties into the context of the investigation. At the end of the debrief, the participant will be reminded that their data will be kept confidential and that they can ask any questions if they wish to, and that they should be aware that they are still able to withdraw from the investigation at this point if they wish to. So just to summarise, in this video we've learned how to select a sample from a wider population, and we've looked at a variety of different sampling methods. We've also considered some ethical considerations when using human participants in our research. And then finally, we've looked at how to write up a consent form and a debrief. Thank you for listening.